Due to the fact I have no gavel, I'll just use my hand. Welcome to Freehold Regional High School District Board of Education. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Pursuant to the Public Meetings Act of Chapter 231, Public Laws 1975, this meeting has been duly advertised in the Asbury Park Press. Issue of November 21st, 2014. All municipal clerks and townships of the boroughs within the Regional High School District have been duly notified and requirements of posting notices have been met. Okay, approval of the minutes. Do we have minutes on the agenda? Motion.
Second.
Thank you. Discussion. Seeing none. Mr. Boyce.
Mr. Acetola?
Yes.
Mrs. Canario?
Yes.
Mrs. Fankhauser?
Yes.
Mrs. Lavin?
Yes.
Mrs. Tutera?
Yes.
Mr. Corolla?
Yes.
Mr. Moses?
Yes. Okay, after the case on file, Superintendent's report.
All right, good evening, everyone. So it's been a busy few weeks here at the Freehold Regional High School District. I just want to walk everybody through some of the activities that we've really been engaged in. So first and foremost, we conducted our formal and final district walkthrough this afternoon, Mr. Boyce, myself, and Mr. LaGraveness, where we were in and out of all 6 high schools, walking the interior and exterior of the buildings. And as folks know who followed the district, we're really in the midst of a huge energy savings improvement program, which has resulted in changing out our boilers, changing out our lighting in all of our 6 high schools. So every classroom in all 6 of our high schools now has an automatic light sensor that's on, with automatic controls. The boilers actually look like they're from this century, as opposed to what had been in there. And in particular, Freehold High School being our oldest building, there was a significant amount of work done, and just a few short weeks ago, literally every single classroom in the building was disrupted, where the ceiling tiles were displaced, the hallway tiles were displaced. The entire building looked like literally like somebody had just run through and was just ripping off ceiling tiles and pulling down wires. And on about August 5th or 6th, I walked through the building and I was mildly concerned that we were going to be able to make sure that everything was in place for the return of the students. And at that point in time, August 15th was starting, obviously, athletics and extracurriculars. So there was a sort of added anxiety there. And I have to say, a phenomenal job of managing the program. We walked the buildings today, and Freehold High School was ready for students today, ready to open. All 6 buildings with the new LED lighting. The floors really look magnificent. There's been a ton of district projects in each of the 6 high schools. Work on new tracks at Marlboro and Freehold High School are underway as well. I'd like to, certainly, thank Mr. LaGraveness. I know he put a lot of work in this summer, Mr. Boyce, and the buildings and grounds crew has just done a phenomenal job. And I think it's important to note that as we really came down to it with Freehold High School, a couple of our other buildings actually loaned out their night crews to help at Freehold, which obviously means more work for them within their own building as they're preparing for the start of the school year. So just a phenomenal job all around by the buildings and grounds staff this summer. In talking with some of the supervisors today, they sort of unanimously agreed that it was the most difficult summer in quite a few summers in terms of the projects, and to do it in the manner we did it, I think, was exemplary. On August 19th, all of our sort of 12-month administrators and our supervisors came back. That was sort of D-Day for the administrative team here. And over the past couple of weeks, we've really spent a lot of time as an administrative team extending the work with our school goals that we started with our retreat in July, bringing the supervisors into that fold, and then expanding our work with our professional learning communities last week as well. It's been a real fruitful couple of weeks. You know, the theme of this year's retreat was really around possibilities. That'll be the theme for the convocation on Wednesday morning as well, what is possible, and really envisioning, for the first time in several years, things aren't quite as new. So the teacher evaluation system that we had to grapple with is 3 years in now. The PARC testing system that we had to figure out how to manage is in its second full year, but third year if you count piloting. And so managing those changes, I think we're really poised this school year to just look inward and to worry about what's happening internally and really focusing on the teaching and learning across the district. So I feel real comfortable and confident that there's going to be a lot of terrific work done this school year. We also, our new teacher orientation began today. So we have a lot of new staff this year. They opened up the day today. The administrative team was here to greet them. They went through a full day of training in the Marzano instructional model, which is the model that the district employs for the teacher evaluation process. The FREA also has a bit of that day where they introduce themselves to the new staff. So it's a positive day, a lot of positive energy in the room, certainly this morning, and excited to welcome those folks aboard. As I mentioned earlier, our convocation is scheduled for Wednesday at Freehold Township High School. It's one of my favorite days of the year. It's the only time all year that we get the entire faculty and staff together. There's an unbelievable synergy in that room when you have the faculty and staff from 6 high schools. It's an opportunity on a personal level for me as superintendent of the schools to really express some of my feelings and sentiments to the staff as a whole, where they can sort of hear it from the proverbial horse's mouth. I think that's important as well, to be up there in front of the school district and talking about where the district is headed. And so we're excited for that day, and on the back end of the convocation there'll be a lot of specific work in the buildings around some of the initiatives, particularly with our PLCs this school year, and on meeting our school goals as we move forward. And then finally, just a couple changes this year. We opened up the portal earlier than we had in the past for student schedules. Sort of a significant change to manage, but I think it went very, very smoothly. And I think a lot of the time that we may have spent in the past on adapting to student schedule difficulties when school had started, we were able to sort of mitigate that time by opening the portal earlier, getting those schedules out, troubleshooting, and I think it went very, very well. And tomorrow, I'm pleased to announce that the governor's task force on the standards review process and looking at the changes to or not with the Common Core, that I've been named to that standards review team for the state. And so our first meeting is at Monmouth University tomorrow morning, and I will be spending the morning together sort of outlining what that standards review process will look like. And I'm certainly proud that Freehold Regional High School District will have a seat at the table for those discussions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sampson. Next up is board reports, curriculum and instruction. No, nothing.
No meetings.
Okay, Finance Committee, Jen?
We had our meeting last Monday, and as Chuck said before, the schools are in good shape. All the lighting in all the schools has been changed. There's just a few little things that have to be fixed, and it'll be done by October 1st. The roofings in Colts Neck, Freehold Borough, Freehold Township, Howell, and Manalapan are scheduled to be finished this week. A few little things that have to be adjusted, but the changes will be noted in the agenda. The boilers at Freehold Township, Howell, and Manalapan are completed up to high efficiency boilers in the 3 schools. There's still some work being done because there was some hazardous material, and that should be finished by this week. And all the boilers will be tested and completed by October 1st in time for the heating season. Freehold Borough HVAC should be completed by the start of the school, and the temperature control system, which will balance, and testing will be performed in September. Marlboro Track demolition began on August 17th. It should be completed in October. The application of the track surface will be ready for winter, early spring, depending on the weather. Freehold Borough Track is also, demolition began on August 26th. And Alpin Track, they're starting to work, and it should be completed, they started working on it again, it should be completed in October. The ESEP HVAC Phase 2 of the district is evaluating recent proposals submitted by the contractors, and will be moving forward in the September Board of Ed meeting, and that's it.
Okay. All right, that's it for board reports. Next up is public participation. We have one name, Alan Greensburg of Freehold Township. Wherever you feel more comfortable.
So, this is my first time actually attending a board meeting, and first time speaking as well, so I don't know the protocol. So if I'm out of line, please just let me know. Again, I'm not real sure. My daughter is actually, we were zoned for, in Freehold Township. She was zoned to go to Freehold Borough. She started 9th grade there. Unfortunately, by the end of the school year, we had to have her moved out of the district to a different placement. She went to the Collier School for 2 years. Unfortunately, that placement didn't work out very well as well. And then we made a placement out of state last year.
Mr. Greenberg, if you don't want to discuss publicly in public matters that pertain to your family or your child, you don't have to. The board, we could arrange for a meeting outside of the public forum if you want to discuss it and not do it publicly. No one's asking you to, I'm sorry?
Would that be this evening?
Depending upon the business, I mean, we didn't know that you were coming tonight, but typically the board doesn't discuss student matters or for privacy reasons, obviously, in public. So if what you're mentioning is going to pertain to a student matter, and just by your opening comments, I think that it may. The Board of Ed will likely not respond to you. So if that is the case, then please do not be offended, but the board doesn't discuss student matters in public.
I certainly understand that. As I said, if I'm out of line as to what the conversation is, I guess just to follow that up, I'm not going to give you a lot of information because I want to protect my daughter's privacy. The question really comes down to 3 placements, 2 placements that we made so far, dealing with a child who has a lot of emotional issues. First placement happened the day before school started. Second placement happened September 25th, so almost a month after school had begun. We're now a week away from school beginning. We found the placement, and there's no decision that's been made. So my question only was, when can we expect a decision?
Okay, just because it does pertain to a matter that involves a student, the board doesn't respond in public, and I always advise against that because of FERPA and other privacy concerns. And what I would say, sir, is I think that if you wait around after the meeting, then we can certainly have a more in-depth discussion along those lines.
Thank you, Mr. Greensburg. Okay, next up is the agenda, excuse me, Mr. Boyce.
Most likely in the back of the room, you'll see a yellow sheet of paper which has some addendum to the agenda on G1, G3, G5, and G16. So I'll call your attention to that. And also one correction on G7, the name that appears under Colts Neck High School should be Jansen, Janscen, rather than Jensen. So Jansen rather than Jensen. That's all, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Boyce. Okay, so the agenda runs from G1 to K4. We'll take the agenda in one shot. Motion. Thank you, Jen.
Second.
Thank you, Sam. Discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Boyce?
Mr. Acetola?
Yes.
Mrs. Canario?
Yes on everything but C, I abstain.
I'm sorry, which one?
On everything but the minutes, I abstain on the minutes.
Okay, that vote was earlier.
Earlier.
Oh,
Okay.
sorry.
All right, what we'll do is we'll correct that.
Only because I wasn't here.
It's okay. We'll make a note to come back to that, so
Okay.
just hold that.
This board has erasers, don't worry.
All right.
Mrs. Fankhauser?
Yes, except on G5 and G13, any action there that relates to the Colts Neck High School football team.
Mrs. Lavin?
Yes.
Mrs. Sotera?
Yes.
Mr. Carollo?
Yes.
Mr. Moses?
Yes.
Okay, before we move off, Mr. Moses, if it's okay, just indulge me one moment.
You're the lawyer.
Since we had already had a motion on the table that was brought and seconded to approve the minutes, we would need a board motion to rescind that approval.
Is this the first?
This is a first.
This is first.
It's a first. So we would need someone, please, to make a motion to rescind the approval of the minutes for the July 20, 2015 board
Motion.
meeting.
I think Liz should make the,
I make the motion.
thank you, Liz.
Second?
We don't need a discussion?
No, we need a second.
Oh, we need a second. A second?
Unless you want to discuss it.
Liz, you want a second? And
Sure, second.
Okay. Jan seconded.
And we need to,
Now,
is there any discussion?
any discussion on the,
Did you have a
No.
good time in Florida?
seeing none, do we take a vote now?
Yes, you should. It can be an all in favor, Mr. Moses.
Oh, good. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Okay. Now, if we could please bring a motion to approve the minutes,
Oh, we need a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll make the
July
motion.
20, 2015.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Lavin. Would you like to make the motion?
I'll make that.
Mrs. Lavin has made the motion.
Second.
Ms. Fankhauser made the motion already.
Oh, I apologize. Okay,
So we'll let Kathy second it.
okay.
I'll second that.
Discussion?
Seeing none?
Mr. Acetola?
Yes.
Mrs. Canario?
Abstain.
Mrs. Fankhauser?
Yes.
Mrs. Lavin?
Yes.
Mrs. Sotera?
Yes.
Mr. Carollo?
Yes.
Mr. Moses?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much. That was something out of Saturday Night Live. Okay, so the agenda passed, right?
Yes. Old
Okay,
business?
old business. I want to remind the board that we have to go back into closed session.
Yes.
Mark's going to handle a resolution.
Oh, no. Okay. You want to do that?
No, we'll finish with
Well,
any new
okay.
business.
Any new business?
Okay.
There's no business.
Well, there is business, Mr. Moses.
Yes.
The board will need to return to executive session in order to continue its discussion on item number 8, employee matter, professional staff employment status, which was as noted on the original agenda. It is anticipated that the board will return to public session no later than 9:15, which would be 45 minutes, and the board will return to public session to conduct business at the close of executive session.
Does that put any restraints on the people that are here? I mean, can they leave?
Oh, they are always free to leave if they wish, Mr. Moses. No
There
one,
you
no
go.
one is
You heard that
We're
from
not locking the door.
our legal source.
terrible. So we need a motion, please?
A motion to agenda,
No. Motion to adjourn to executive session.
yes, yes. A motion to adjourn to executive session.
Yes.
Liz, you want to do that one?
Motion.
Yes. Second. Thank you, Dean. All those in favor?
Aye.
There we go. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Just so the record is complete, it is 9:15. The board indicated that it may return to public session to conduct business. The board is not returning to public session to conduct business. The meeting has been adjourned at 9:15 due to lack of quorum.